Well, here it is, the 29th expansion to the Marvel Legendary deck building game, fresh from Upper Deck Entertainment. Thank you so much for sending this to me. It is Black Panther featuring a bunch of heroes of Wakanda with some really neat plays on some mechanics that you know and love from Marvel Legendary. So let's open it up, check out what's inside, go over the rules, and then take a deep dive into every single card in this set. So let's find out what's in here. I know a lot of the cards already because Upper Deck was kind enough to show them off, but seeing them up close is going to be a bit different. So I love the box art on this too. There's a couple different artists, I think, on this set, so I don't know who those are exactly. One of them I do know, the other ones I don't, so I'm looking forward to finding out who this says that is. All right, so this is a small box expansion, 100 cards in there. We got a nice distribution of stuff. All right, there's the rule sheet. I'm going to be going over this in just a moment. And here we have the cards. So on the back, we've got the scheme, provoke a clash of nations. And then we've got General Okoye, lead the Dora Milaje. So really cool stuff here. Let's open them up and find out what's inside. Okay, with the first card set, I think this is going to be the one with the rest of the schemes and other things. But let's take a quick look and find out. So we've got, yep, the schemes are here. Ooh, and there's our second Mastermind, Klaw. Awesome. And we've got Killmonger, 2 Masterminds. I love the vibrant colors on this. Okay, the enemies of Wakanda villain group. And again, we're going to go into this in depth a little bit later. And then Killmonger's League villain group right there. And, all right, there's our 5th and final hero, White Wolf, who has a hero set I'm very interested in diving into. I think he's the one that interests me the most here. And then we've got General Okoye here. All right. Bunch of heroes and things, schemes, villains, masterminds, all that. Let's see what's in the second brick. Should be all the rest of the heroes by my calculations. Okay, so we've got the rest of Okoye here and General Okoye. Okay, there's Princess Shuri. Oh, these cards do look even better in person. There's Princess Shuri there. More of her. Different art styles, right? I think these might be the same artist. All right, we've got, Queen Storm. The rares are something to look at. And yes, there he is, King Black Panther. Heart-shaped herb, I think, is going to be a card to look out for. So I'm going to test that out and let you know what I think. And there's Unseen Protector, the very first card we saw from this set when it was first teased, before Doctor Strange was even out. Very cool. Lots of awesome stuff here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rule sheet. I'm going to be giving some examples on how these rules work as I go over the rule sheet. And you can follow along with me here. And here is the rule sheet. I'm excited it's finally here. Apparently, this was supposed to be the first 2022 release before the delays happened, but they've been doing such a great job churning these out. And I'm so excited to see this here. Here we go. Let's start. Black Panther is an incredible polymath with world-class aptitude in a huge array of fields, a master of stealth and hand-to-hand combat. He is also a PhD in physics and an expert gadgeteer, diplomat, mystic, tactician, and leader. T'Challa rules as King of Wakanda, a secluded African nation of incredible science, culture, natural resources, weapons, and people. As the only source of the powerful metal Vibranium, Wakanda is often under attack by enemies like the ambitious Wakandan Killmonger and the cruel outsider Klaw. Many heroes work with T'Challa to defend Wakanda. Storm of the X-Men married Black Panther, becoming Queen of Wakanda and forming a true power couple. T'Challa's sister, Princess Shuri, is a technological genius and a powerful fighter in her own right. General Okoye is a master strategist and warrior who leads the king's bodyguard, the Dora Milaje. Finally, Hunter the White Wolf was adopted and raised like a brother to T'Challa, eventually becoming commander of the Wakandan secret police, the Hattusaraze. Biding his time, the White Wolf has his own designs on the crown. Let's jump into some mechanics here. Ambush abilities on heroes. Black Panther and White Wolf have mastered the pouncing attacks of their animal namesakes. Storm, Shuri, and Okoye are also full of surprises. To represent this as a new ability in this set, some heroes say things like Instinct, Ambush, draw a card. This is similar to how a villain does its ambush ability when it enters the city. When a hero with an Instinct Ambush ability enters the HQ during your turn, you may use that ambush ability if you have an Instinct hero. As always, you have an Instinct hero if you played an Instinct hero this turn, or if you have an Instinct hero in your hand, or if you control an Instinct hero artifact. New heroes usually enter the HQ when you recruit a hero or a villain escapes from the city, creating an empty space in the HQ that you refill. In games with hero ambush abilities, you may want to recruit before you fight, in case a new hero entering the HQ gives you extra attack, or cards that you can use to fight stronger enemies. Putting wounds on villains. Some Wakandans are also inspired by panthers and wolves to stalk their villainous prey. They wear enemies down with harrying attacks, slashing claws, and wounds before closing in to finish them off for good. To represent this, as a new ability in this set, some hero cards say things like wound a villain. To do this, put a wound onto a villain from the wound stack or from the KO pile. A villain gets -1 attack for each wound on it. When that villain is defeated or leaves the city, return all wounds on it to the wound stack. If a villain has 0 attack or negative attack, they don't disappear automatically, but you can fight them during your turn by spending 0 attack. If you fight a villain with negative attack, you won't get a refund. Some cards specifically say, wound the Mastermind. This works the same way, with all of the Mastermind's wounds returning to the wound stack after a Mastermind tactic is fought. The wounds go away even if the Mastermind tactic tells you to shuffle the tactic back into the Mastermind's other tactics or put the tactic somewhere else. Killmonger has 5 attack and says, while Killmonger has more than 0 attack, you cannot fight him. Instead, you may spend attack equal to his attack to wound him and gain +1 recruit. So players will have to spend 5 attack, then 4 attack, 3 attack, 2 attack, and 1 attack, getting 5 recruit along the way. Then a player can fight him at 0 attack to take a random tactic, remove Killmonger's wounds, and not get +1 recruit. Malice and Prey work similarly. You can wound them this way multiple times per turn. This does not count as a fight. Don't rescue captured bystanders. You can still use the healing ability on your own wounds the same turn you wound an enemy this way. If your wound stack contains different kinds of wounds, like the grievous wounds from Legendary Civil War, then whenever you return wounds to the wound stack, put them on the bottom. Wounds on enemies are face up. If an effect causes each player to gain a wound or do anything else, start with the current player, then go clockwise. Multiclass cards. Wakandans are famously multi-talented, combining technology, instinct, subtlety, long-range planning, and pure power. This is represented by each Wakandan hero having a card with multiple hero classes. For Black Panther in particular, his mastery over a sweeping array of skills is represented by all of his cards being multi-class. An instinct covert card counts as both instinct and covert. These cards are great at enabling superpower abilities like Covert, you get +2 recruit. Multiclass cards also appeared in Legendary Secret Wars Volume 1 and 2 in 2015. Empowered. This keyword represents heroes and villains who draw power from ambient energy, technology, or superpowers around them. It debuted in Legendary Ant-Man in 2018. Some heroes say you get empowered by Covert. This means you get +1 attack for each Covert card in the HQ. On villains and masterminds, empowered by tech means this gets +1 attack for each tech card in the HQ. As heroes enter and leave the HQ, an empowered card can get stronger or weaker. You only check the attack bonus at the moment you play your empowered hero or at the moment you fight the empowered enemy. One clever move is to recruit a hero from the HQ at the right time, changing the colors in the HQ to weaken an empowered enemy or try to strengthen an empowered hero in your hand. Klaw can be double or even quadruple empowered, giving +2 attack or +4 attack for each. Empowered by Instinct Covert gives +1 attack for each Instinct, Covert, or Instinct Covert card in the HQ. Abilities that let you put cards from the HQ on the bottom of the hero deck are especially useful at setting up empowered heroes or empowered villains. They are also great at giving you more hero ambushes. Throne's Favor. Whoever holds the Wakandan throne or the favor of its monarch can direct its vast powers. This is represented by the Throne's Favor. Some heroes say things like you gain the Throne's Favor. When this happens, take a nearby object to represent the Throne's Favor, like a coin, key, miniature, or pawn. There is only ever one Throne's Favor in the game. If another player or mastermind already has the Throne's Favor, and you gain it, then you take it from them. If an ability tells you to take the Throne's Favor, you must take it. You cannot leave it where it is. Some heroes say things like, you may spend the Throne's Favor to get +2 attack. This means if you have the Throne's Favor, you may give it up to use the listed ability. You set aside the Throne's Favor object, and no one has the Throne's Favor until someone gains it again. You can only spend the Throne's Favor at the moment the card you're playing with tells you to do so. You can't wait and spend it later in the turn. The Throne's Favor is not a card. It never goes into decks or discard piles. Instead, when it comes up, just use whatever cool object is easily at hand. There's no need to store a special Throne's Favor object with the game. Cards can also cause the Mastermind to gain the Throne's Favor and or benefit from having it when the Mastermind gains the Throne's Favor. They take it away from any player that may already have it. Likewise, a card ability that causes a player to gain the Throne's Favor will take it away from the Mastermind and give it to the player. The Throne's Favor first appeared in Legendary Realm of Kings. There it represented the Inhuman and Shi'ar thrones, but it all still uses the same single Throne's Favor object. You can even combine both sets to simulate Wakanda and the Inhumans struggling for power. Game contents. Rules insert and 100 cards. 5 new heroes of 14 cards each. Each hero has 1 rare, 3 uncommons, 5 of one common, and 5 of another common. 2 new villain groups of 8 cards each. 2 new double-sided epic masterminds. Each has 1 mastermind card and 4 mastermind tactic cards, and 4 new schemes. Credits: Game design and card set design, Devin Lowe. Brand manager, Travis Ray. Associate brand manager, Corinne Deng. Director of game development, Bobby Johansson. Product manager, Rob Ford. Graphic design, Krista Timberlake. Art acquisition lead, Samantha Padilla. Art direction, Julio Elizondo. Box art, Taryn Clark. Card art, Hernanda Souza, Kieran Grant, and Paris Elaine. Product managers, Scott Asti, Samantha Depew, Tanya Lashley, and Alyssa Podolsky. Director of Creative Services, Mike Eggleston. VP of Production and Logistics, Suzanne Lombardi. President, Upper Deck Company, Jason Mashara. And playtesters, JT Bontegrer, Michael Green, Corey Hayes, Steve Helling, Justin Hochesang, Eric Persons, Josh Roberts, Aaron Surwa, and Jason Walker. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into a complete card overview of this set. I'll let you know what I think about each card and give you a great overview of what this set has to offer. Alright, as usual, let's go ahead and start with the Masterminds. First up is Killmonger, who provides a pretty unique way to take down a Mastermind. He's got 5 attack and only 4 VP, but let's read. While Killmonger has more than 0 attack, you cannot fight him. Instead, you may spend attack equal to his attack to wound him and get +1 recruit. He always leads Killmonger's League. Master Strike. Each player must reveal 4 different hero classes or gain one of the wounds on Killmonger. Any player who can't do either must discard down to 4 cards. So seeing as how you have to hit him for 5 attack, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, he essentially takes 15 attack for each time you actually want to fight him and get a tactic, but you can do it over a series of turns, which makes it a little bit easier to manage. Also, each time you do wound him, you get 1 recruit. So there were times where I wounded him maybe 2 or 3 times in a turn, and I got 3 recruit, which gave me enough recruit to get a cool rare or uncommon I was trying to get, which also gave me an ambush effect, so that can also cause some cool chains. Now let's take a look at his epic side. What's different? So here's Epic Killmonger. I'm personally a big fan of the art on these cards, so I'm very thrilled with how it looks. So again, while Killmonger has more than 0 attack, you cannot fight him. Instead, you may spend attack equal to his attack to wound him and get +1 recruit. That is the same. This is different. When you do fight him, each other player gains 1 of his wounds. So 5 wounds on him. You get playing 2-player. You're going to have to pass those wounds out. Also, he's at 6 base attack instead of 5, so instead of 15 attack, it's going to be 21 attack to take him down. And then Master Strike, each player gains a wound. Gain them from Killmonger's wounds if possible, which is also different. So this gives a bit more of a challenge. I think that standard Killmonger is a little bit on the easier side compared to the other Masterminds, so this is a good challenge for you if you're trying to have a tougher game with him with this fun wounding mechanic. Alright, and let's take a look at his tactics real quick before we jump into that villain group we mentioned. Starting with Rite of Challenge, fight. Each player with no Killmonger tactics in their victory pile gains a wound that was on Killmonger. You have this tactic, so you won't gain a wound. That's a clarifier because after you fight something, it goes into your victory pile before the fight effect takes effect. So this tactic may want you to spread the Mastermind tactics around so you don't get stuck giving out wounds to the other side, or maybe that's what your goal is, and in which case you can plan for it. This kind of brings a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a competitive edge to the cooperative nature of Legendary like some other cards do. Next up is Altar of Resurrection. Fight. The player on your left chooses a non-henchman villain from their victory pile. It enters a city with a wound on it. Then the player on your right does the same effect. In solo, you do both. Not just solo, but if you're playing 2-player or 2-handed solo, the player on your left and your right is the same person, so they're going to put 2 villains in the victory pile, and you don't put any, unlike solo, where you put both of them in. Interesting, this actually puts 2 villains in the city, most likely. At the point where you're hitting the Mastermind, you're probably going to have some villains in your victory pile, and this can cause some pretty nasty escapes. We have some pretty nasty escape effects hidden in this set. So when you hit Killmonger, keep in mind that he might put 2 villains into the city, so make sure that you have 2 spaces available if you want to avoid an escape. Next is Throw from the Waterfall. Fight. Draw 2 cards, then each other player discards a card. Pretty neutral, not much to say about this one, but Killmonger really pushing that competitive nature of Legendary here. And finally, a Scar for every kill. Fight. You get +1 recruit for each non-henchman villain in your victory pile. This is a big one, especially later game. If you have 7 villains, that's 7 or 8 villains, that's almost a free rare for you right there. So hope to get this one last. But again, the person who hits this tactic is going to be at a big advantage over the other one if you are playing non-solo. And that's it for Killmonger. Before we jump into the second Mastermind, let's go ahead and look at his always leads group, Killmonger's League. First up is Killmonger's Leopard, Preyy. Preyy has 3 attack and a VP value of 2, and he, like other members of this villain group, are going to use the wound mechanic. Ambush. Each player reveals an instinct hero or gains a wound that was on a mastermind or villain. While Preyy has more than 0 attack, you cannot fight him. Instead, you may spend attack equal to his attack to wound him and draw a card. Just like Killmonger, he has that same wound mechanic where you can't fight him until he's down to 0. What's useful about that is each time you wound him, you get to draw a card. So do that, and you get to draw 3 cards that turn, which, depending on how late in the game, could draw you some pretty good things so you can take down something else in the city. So I actually like to save Preyy and take him down all at once because it can help get 3 cards you need to build up enough recruit or attack to do something else during your turn. And hopefully also he shows up early so that he doesn't take any wounds. But even if he shows up later, there's a lot of instinct in this set, so chances are you're probably going to have some instinct in your deck too. But that's Preyy. I love the art on him too. Let's take a look at some more villains. Next up is Malice, who also has the same wound mechanic as Preyy. She has a 4 attack and a VP value of 2. Ambush, return a wound from the Mastermind and from each villain to the wound stack. While Malice has more than 0 attack, you cannot fight her. Instead, you may spend attack equal to her attack to wound her and rescue a bystander. This ambush effect can be pretty devastating depending on what the board looks like. Let's say you have 3 wounds on Killmonger and a couple wounds on other villains, and then she shows up. She takes off wounds from everybody. 1 wound from everybody, which can really set you back, especially because, again, a Killmonger or Epic Killmonger costs 5 or 6 to put a wound on if he has no wounds on him. Some of these other villains are pretty strong. When we get to Venomm later, that's a rough one to lose a wound. But yeah, hopefully she shows up early in your game for you or she'll really be a big pain. Her wound effect is a little bit less effective than Prey's because she gives you bystanders, which are only sometimes going to be special ones. But if you're trying to build a bystander engine or just going for VP, that's a good way to do it. By the way, she costs a total of 10 attack to take down after all her wounding. Baron Macabre is next. I should mention, by the way, that there are 2 copies of each villain in the Killmonger's League villain group. He has an attack of 5 and a VP value of 3. Ambush. A villain from your victory pile enters the city. Wound that villain, then wound Baron Macabre a number of times equal to that villain's VP. Now, that looks pretty bad because he's putting another villain into the city, but I've noticed that Baron Macabre can actually be neutral or even helpful sometimes because you can put in a villain that has a great fight effect that you can use and they already get wounded a little bit. So for example, let's say Preyy is in your victory pile when Baron Macabre shows up and you choose to put Preyy in the city. You're going to wound Preyy, which means he goes down to only 2 attack. You only have to wound him for 2 and then 1, which gives you 2 card draws. He has a VP value of 2, which means Baron Macabre goes down to 3 attack after you wound him, which is essentially a henchman. So he's not really that tough to deal with. He can actually provide you some opportunities, but it's a cool, clever way to get some more wounds on villains. That said, if you only have henchmen in your victory pile or no villains at all, he's going to be a 5 or 4 attack, so still tough to deal with if your city is filling up. The last villain in Killmonger's League is Venomm, who's a character from Marvel Comics who has control over snakes and is immune to a ton of different types of venom, given his name there. He's got 9 attack and a VP value of 4, but his ambush effect is this: wound Venomm. Each player may discard a card to wound Venomm again. Venomm came up early in a couple of my games, my 2-handed solo games, so I made the easy decision to discard cards from both sides, which wounded him a total of 3 times, making him a 6 attack villain, which is a lot more manageable. So you almost always want to discard cards to wound him. It's probably going to be useful. His escape effect is choose which players gain each of Venomm's wounds, dividing them as evenly as possible. So depending on how many players you have and how many players have discarded wounds, he could have had a ton on there, so don't let him get away because you do not want to deal with those wounds. So that's it for Killmonger and his Always Leads group, but there's a second Mastermind in this set. Let's go ahead and take a look at him and his villain group. The second Mastermind in the Black Panther expansion is Klaw. He has 8+ attack and a VP value of 6. Klaw is double empowered by the colors of his sonic frequency. Again, empowered means +1 attack for each matching color in the HQ. Double empowered means +2 for each matching color. Always leads enemies of Wakanda. Master Strike. Put the top card of the hero deck next to Klaw as a sonic frequency, putting any previous frequency on the bottom of the hero deck. Each player must reveal a card that shares a color with it or gain a wound. So similar to the Ultron Mastermind from Ant-Man, where his threat analysis pile adds cards to it slowly and adds colors, he swaps them out, but he gets double empowered. And with the fact that this set has a ton of multi-class heroes, that makes Klaw pretty formidable. And I think he's the tougher Mastermind even on the base side, but let's take a look at the changes for his epic side. So as you can see, Epic Klaw is 10 plus attack, and he is quadruple empowered by the colors of his sonic frequency. That is a lot. So again, he starts at 10. So let's say his sonic frequency is a strength covert card, and there are 4 strength and or covert cards in the HQ. That's 4 attack for each one. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16 on top of his 10. That is 26 attack. That is ridiculous. So you really have to do some HQ control to be able to get close to hitting him. Master Strike is put the top card of the hero deck next to Klaw as a sonic frequency. That's the same. Put any previous frequency, and each card from the HQ that does not share a color with the new frequency on the bottom of the hero deck. That's different. Each player gains a wound. So not only is he that tough to hit, but he will readjust the HQ to make it more advantageous, or give him a chance to make it more advantageous for him. Klaw is definitely the tougher mastermind of these two, and really requires some HQ manipulation. So speaking of which, let's take a look at his tactics. First one, Cohesive Sound Construct. Fight, rescue 4 bystanders. This tactic enters the city as a villain whose only ability is escape. This card becomes a Master Strike that takes effect immediately. I really dig this one. So yeah, it gives you the 4 bystanders for the VP you wouldn't normally get, and then he becomes a scary villain who's 8 attack, and if he escapes, he becomes an extra Master Strike and makes Klaw do more bad stuff. I love it. Convert matter to sound. Fight, each other player simultaneously KOs one of their non-gray heroes. Put one of those cards with the lowest cost next to Klaw as his new sonic frequency. Put any previous frequency on the bottom of the hero deck. So this card doesn't stay in the KO pile, it goes right to him. And this does give you kind of an advantage because you, if you have the option, can pick a card that is not empowered that much or at all from the HQ, giving you a chance to hit him another time. By the way, since this card does mention it, his Mastermind card says color, so based on certain schemes and hero effects, etc., there is the possibility that he could have a gray card in his sonic frequency pile, in which case, unfortunately, this tactic would make you replace that. Cruelty provokes resistance. Fight, set aside all heroes from the HQ that do not share any colors with Klaw's sonic frequency. Gain one of them, put the rest on the bottom of the hero deck, then refill the empty HQ spaces. So he does a lot of this putting heroes in the bottom of the hero deck, so makes me think of what would happen if you did a Dark Alliance with him and Dark Phoenix, make it a little easier for you to take them both down. But hey, the downside is that he's going to get more powerful after this effect is over. The upside is, hey, you might get a free rare out of it. And finally, Ultrasonic Boom. Fight, put the top card of the hero deck next to Klaw as a sonic frequency. Each other player must discard a card that shares a color with it. Put any previous frequency on the bottom of the hero deck. So obviously the theme is to mess with his sonic frequency, making him more powerful, but again, you never know which one you're going to get because it's a tactic, and you need to be prepared for that extra villain coming into the city. The rest are just going to make things a little harder for you in other ways. Speaking of Klaw, let's take a look at his always leads villain group, Enemies of Wakanda. Enemies of Wakanda has a bit of a different distribution than Killmonger's League. There's 2 of 3 different cards and then 1 of 2 different cards. Nightshade here has 2 copies. She has 3+ attack and a VP value of 2, empowered by tech. Fight, you get +1 recruit for each tech hero in the HQ. A brilliant physicist and biochemist, Nightshade has created a vast array of advanced weaponry and experimental serums. What's nice about this villain is that while she gets stronger as there's more tech in the HQ, you get a better reward for more tech being in the HQ, so it doesn't feel bad to fight her for a high attack when you could try to get the tech out of the HQ. Sometimes you might want to leave them there just for more recruit if you're trying to get something good with that. Next up is Jakarra. So you'll see a theme with this villain group. There's a lot of empowering going on, just like Ultron's Legacy, and something that I think is very helpful and I appreciate about these cards. Whatever class these villains are empowered by is reflected in the color of the cards. Nightshade's empowered by tech, and she's kind of got a dark gray-black background. Jakarra has a green background, as he's empowered by strength. 4+ attack and a VP value of 3, empowered by strength. Fight, KO one of your heroes. Infusing himself with vast amounts of raw Vibranium, Jakarra's blood flows with pure power. A pretty straightforward villain. KO one of your heroes is simple. Also, there's, I think, fewer strength in this set than anything else, so he's probably one of the easier ones to take down. Less likely you're going to see some strength in the HQ if you're just playing with this expansion. And here's Tetu. By the way, there's 2 copies of Jakarra and 2 copies of Tetu in this villain group. Again, 4+ attack and a VP value of 3. He's empowered by ranged. Again, look at the background. It's blue, reflecting his empowered. I really appreciate that. Ambush. Put a hero from the HQ that isn't empowering any enemies of Wakanda on the bottom of the hero deck. fight, same effect. Tetu isn't in the city, again, because fight effects happen after the villain goes to your victory pile. But a really cool one that gave me a lot of trouble. There's a lot of range in this set, so he was empowered quite often, and with the other villains from that group out, you might have to tuck a hero you don't want. Let's say all 3 of these are out, empowered by tech, strength, and ranged. That means only instinct or covert can go to the bottom of the deck, and let's say there's an uncommon or rare there, you have to tuck that one and you won't see it again. So Tetu, I think, was one of the most frustrating in this villain group, but I do like the design a lot. And here's Zenzi. There's only 1 copy of her, 5+ attack and a VP value of 4, empowered by instinct. She's got the yellow energy there to reflect that. Ambush. Zenzi captures a bystander for each instinct hero in the HQ. With wide-ranging empathic powers, Zenzi rallies thousands to her cause. Now, this set does have a lot of instinct heroes, so she could get a ton of bystanders. Luckily, she is not empowered by the bystander, she's just empowered by instinct. But that said, again, there's a lot of instinct in this set, lots of dual class with instinct, so she can get pretty strong pretty quickly. And the final villain here is Reverend Achebe, 6+ attack and a VP value of 5, empowered by covert, red in the picture. It all matches up, it's great. Escape. Reverend Achebe becomes a scheme twist that takes effect immediately. An insane genius, schemer, and ventriloquist, Achebe works to turn Wakanda against Black Panther. One of my games, this happened to me. He escaped due to something that happened in one of the schemes that I'll go over, but he became an unfortunate scheme twist that happened, like Mystique and others before him. You do not want this to escape, because a lot of the schemes in Legendary are timer schemes, which means after a certain number of schemes, the game just ends and evil wins, and speeding that up is not recommended. So you're really going to have to focus to not get the coverts in the HQ, which again is tough. There's a lot of covert in this set as well. Lots of dual class with covert. If he comes out early, do everything you can to take him down, because you do not want an extra scheme twist play. That is very important. By the way, there is only 1 copy of him as well. And that is it for the enemies, the masterminds and villains in Marvel Legendary Black Panther. But now it's time to jump into the heroes, which I'm very excited to show you. I love these heroes. I think this set, and I might give you my thoughts at the end, it might be my favorite self-contained set since Annihilation, and that's saying something because I really liked Annihilation. I liked them all, but this one, there's something special about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at our heroes, starting with, of course, T'Challa himself, King Black Panther. Now, as we read in the rule sheet, all of King Black Panther's cards are dual class, or multi-class technically, and after playing, I think that King Black Panther is still the strongest hero in this set. There's some contenders, but you'll see why. Let's go over this. So this is Unseen Protector, his first common. It is Heroes of Wakanda affiliated, like every single hero in this set. Instinct and Covert multi-class, 1+ recruit, and a cost of 2. It has the new Ambush ability, Heroes of Wakanda Ambush, rescue a bystander. Then gain the throne's favor. If you already had it, you may spend it to get +2 recruit. So you know how the legendary flow most commonly works like this. You build up all your points, maybe you do a recruit early, you fight a villain, do their fight effect, you spend your last few recruit to get a hero, and then you end your turn. Oh well, I guess it's time for the other player or the other hand to go. But with Ambush, at that point, when you recruit that last hero and a new hero comes into the HQ, it's kind of like an, oh wait, there's more, where you might get to draw a card or get extra attack, and you get to do more that you didn't think you get to do during your turn. So it's kind of exciting. You think your turn's over, but you get this rush of dopamine because you're like, oh, there's more that I get to do. So as you see these ambush cards come out, think of how that would apply. That was the biggest surprise for me. It just kept the turns going in a great way. This one rescues a bystander, which depending on which one you get may not advance the turn. The most important part is that it gives you the throne's favor. All of King Black Panther's cards use the throne's favor. So this is an easy, cheap pickup. You can get this to gain the throne's favor, or you can spend it if you want to get some extra recruit, but I think it's the weakest throne's favor effect on all of them. But getting it is important, not only for a scheme that we'll go over later, but for spending choices on the other Black Panther cards. Plus, the dual class, it triggers instinct and covert cards in your hand, so it is a great card to have, and it's a low-cost pickup too, which means that if you take it from the HQ, you might be able to do that at the end of your turn and get a new ambush effect to come up. So there's so many great things about Unseen Protector, but we're just getting started. By the way, I should mention that we're back to the standard hero distribution in this set, so 5 of one common, 5 of another, 3 uncommons, and 1 rare for each hero in this set. Here's the second common, Vibranium Claws, an Instinct Tech multi-class, 2+ attack, and 4 cost. Instinct Ambush, you get +2 attack. Instinct, gain the throne's favor. If you already had it, you may spend it to get +2 attack. As I said, this combo is great with Unseen Protector. Play that, you have an Instinct played, and you get the Throne's Favor, and then Vibranium Claws takes advantage of both. The Instinct triggers, and you can spend the Throne's Favor to make this a 4-attack card. This is also a wonderful ambush to show up. Again, this set has a lot of Instinct, so you have to have an Instinct card to trigger that ambush, but if you take a couple Unseen Protectors, chances are you'll have them, and then you can trigger the ambush. And if you, again, you could end your turn, you could have 1 attack left over you can't use for anything, do 1 last recruit, and then Vibranium Claws shows up, you get 2 attack, that's 3 attack. That's enough to maybe wound Prey up here or hit a henchman. So 1 extra little action is very useful for keeping the city clear and making sure you don't lose to whatever scheme you're playing. And a fun fact, before this set, there were fewer Instinct tech cards than any other multi-class cards, so I love the color combo here, and I'm glad to see more. Next up is King Black Panther's Uncommon, and I think what might be the strongest standalone card in his set, Heart-Shaped Herb. It is a strength covert card with 3 attack and a cost of 5. Has Covert Ambush, look at the top card of your deck, draw it or KO it, and then Covert, gain the Throne's Favor. If you already had it, you may spend it to look at the top card of your deck, draw it or KO it. Again, another card that can activate off of Unseen Protector with the gain the Throne's Favor and the Covert. Not only does it do that, but the choice between drawing a card and KOing a card on the top of your deck is fantastic. There's not many KO effects that are this friendly that lets you not only look at it, and if you don't want to KO it, you get to draw it instead. That's a big deal. Also, the ambush effect lets you do the same thing. The ambush effects on the uncommons and rares obviously are less likely to happen. There's fewer cards in there, but it feels really cool when they do, because you didn't have to actually take the uncommon, it just showed up, and if you have a Covert and you're lucky enough to have it at that time, you get to do the effect, which is awesome. Plus, it's a 3 attack on its own, a little low for an uncommon, but with everything else it does, it makes a lot of sense. And finally, Unite the Tribes of Wakanda. This is a Strength Instinct multi-class card, 0+ recruit, 5+ attack, and a cost of 8. Heroes of Wakanda Ambush, you get +1 attack for each hero class you have. Heroes of Wakanda, gain the Throne's Favor. If you already had it, you may spend it to get +1 recruit and +1 attack for each hero class you have. So like I mentioned, some rares do have ambushes, and they feel really good when you pull them off, but don't expect it to happen because, again, it's a rare. You might never see it during the game, but it's a really nice surprise, and, you know, he kind of works like Cap, where Cap gets +1 for each color you have, +1 attack for each hero class you have, and with a set full of multi-class cards, this can net you up to 5 attack, but most commonly 3 or even 4 with all the classes that you've got. And then, again, all his cards use a Throne's Favor as well, so this combos off Unseen Protector, the others too, but again, Unseen Protector does not need a trigger to gain the Throne's Favor, you just gain it. So that's super useful for activating any of the other ones here. And this one gives you recruit and attack, so only a max of 10 attack and 5 recruit with this card, but still, that's pretty darn good. So I still think Heart-Shaped Herb is the stronger standalone card, but Unite the Tribes of Wakanda is really fun when it shows up because it could give you that advantage when you're least expecting it. Plus, who doesn't love some art with a nice blue sky behind it? I sure do. So Wakanda doesn't just have a king, at least most of the time. There's also a queen. Let's go ahead and take a look at Queen Storm of Wakanda. Queen Storm's first common is Hurricane Winds, a covert card, 2 recruit, 0+ attack, and a cost of 3. You may move a villain to an adjacent city space. If another villain is already there, swap them. Covert, you get empowered by Covert. So Queen Storm's hero set kind of revolves around the uncommon, so you really want to get that, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. This refers back to her core set hero, where she can move villains around and put them in certain spaces that'll let her attack them with more effectiveness. Also, you have the Covert empowered. She does have another Covert card in her set, but it is only her uncommon, so it has to trigger off itself or the uncommon. By the way, I'll take a moment to mention that there are other Storm and Black Panther cards in Legendary. Storm does have a hero set in the core set. Also, Black Panther has a set in Secret Wars Volume 1, and then Storm and Black Panther have a dual set together in the Civil War expansion. Torrential Downpour is her second common. It is a ranged card, 2+ attack, and a cost of 4. It has ranged ambush, you get empowered by ranged. Ranged, you get empowered by ranged. From Scorching Desert to Soothing Streams to Crushing Flood. Now, a Storm has the least amount of ambush effects on her cards. I think this is her only card that has an ambush effect. Plus, the empowering was fun. It was kind of hard sometimes to get that many ranged in the hero deck. There are a good amount with Black Panther's rare and then Shuri's cards, as we're going to see coming up. But I was unable to trigger this empowered that often. It is something that you can do if you mix this into other hero sets. There's definitely other heroes that have more range in there to make this more advantageous to you. So her empowering can give her between 3 and 7 attack, depending on how many heroes in a 5 hero HQ. and this again does not activate off the previous common. It does activate off the rest. The rest of her cards are either completely ranged or have range on them, so this will activate more often than not, but how many range cards in the HQ you're going to have at any given time is the question. So here's the linchpin of her entire set, Forked Lightning. It is a dual class, covert, and range card, 3 attack and a cost of 6, wound villains on the rooftops and bridge, covert ranged, gain the throne's favor. If you already had it, you may spend it to wound the Mastermind twice. So a couple things about this card, you can see why it's so important. It can activate both of the commons, it can empower both commons when it's in the HQ, and then if you use Hurricane Winds to move villains around or they're just in the right place, you get to wound them. And again, wounding means you put a wound on top of them, they get -1 attack, and they're on the rooftops and bridge, so she can catch some villains that are midway through the city or about to escape. Also, this dual class trigger is very good, so I see why it's dual class. You can wound the Mastermind twice, which is a big deal for pretty much any Mastermind you're playing. If you're fighting Killmonger, it saves you 9 attack. Depending on what other villain you have, it might just make him easier to hit. Some of the ones with very high attack might benefit from you doing this. If you have characters like from X-Men with human shields, wound them twice, they go down attack and all the human shields get weaker. Really fun stuff. I find the wound mechanic a lot of fun. We'll get more into that when we get to the last hero, but she does it too, in a great way. And here's her rare with, I think, one of my favorite pieces of art from this set, Thunderous Tempest, a fully ranged card, 5+ attack, and a cost of 8. Choose up to 3 heroes from the HQ, put them on the bottom of the hero deck. Heroes of Wakanda, gain the throne's favor. If you already had it, you may spend it to get empowered by covert, then get empowered by range. So this one's cool on the surface. It can give you up to 15 attack if you get fully empowered by everything, but you would have to have dual class covert and range out. More likely than not, you get up to 10 attack or a little more, which is really good. Also, you get to tuck 3 heroes, up to 3 heroes from the HQ, which not only helps against villains like Klaw, enemies like Klaw, but you do refresh 3 heroes. You get to put 3 new heroes in the hero deck. That means 3 chances for ambush effects to happen. You can get empowered by Torrential Downpour or activate another ambush to draw maybe some cards. So this is a great one to work with this set because of that ambush effect. But having a rare that, if you do have the Throne's Favor to spend, gets you around 10 attack each time is pretty good for a rare, but you do have to do a little bit of work to get there. Okay, we've seen some instinct, definitely covert and range, some strength, but not a lot of tech, and that is where Princess Shuri shines. Let's take a look at her hero set. Starting with Vibranium Experiments, a tech card with 0+ attack and a cost of 2. Tech ambush, draw a card, and then her card effect is draw a card. Tech, you get empowered by tech. A lot of tech symbols, a lot of times saying tech on here. Her art is great. She's very determined. I like this ambush effect a lot because tech decks are all about drawing a bunch of cards, and chances are you're going to have some tech in your hand if you're building a tech deck, and then you get to draw 1 card when this shows up, and then taking this gets you empowered by tech, which is hit or miss depending on, again, your hero deck composition, but even just 1 or 2 attack is great. That's a bonus because any card that lets you draw a card is basically a freebie. It doesn't hurt you to take it most of the time, so getting extra attack from the empowerment is awesome. If you have a few of these, because it's a common, you can get 6 attack right there, which can be very beneficial, but the ambush is really neat, and it will happen more often than not. And here's Kimoyo Beats, or other uncommon. I think this is one of my favorite cards from the set. It is a multi-class tech and range, 0+ recruit, and a cost of 4. You get empowered by the color of your choice, getting recruit instead of attack. Extremely adaptable, Kimoyo Beats can communicate with and control many Wakandan devices. So getting empowered by the color of your choice is a big deal. A lot of the times when you're trying to use empowered, it either works or it doesn't because you do not have the cards you need, but there's going to be some cards of some class in the HQ, most likely 2 or even 3 of the same class, especially in this set. And when I use Kimoyo Beads, I reliably got 3 recruit out of this card. Not only that, but it is a tech range. It is an easy choice to play first because there's no superpower trigger on it, so it can activate things like Shuri's or Storm's or even Black Panther's rare. But this one's a great pickup, reliably 3 recruit. It doesn't have an ambush effect, but it trades off having a more powerful recruit ability. And yeah, pick this one up if you get it. It's pretty universal to helping you build a deck that you want. Shocknet, her uncommon, also surprised me at how good it is. It is a range card, 3+ attack, and a cost of 6, so more expensive uncommon, like Storms here. You may put a card from the HQ on the bottom of the hero deck, ranged, then you get empowered by the color of your choice. Once again, you get to pick the color, which is a big deal. So you tuck a card, potentially triggering another ambush, and then empowered by the color of your choice is great, because again, chances are, especially with this set, you might have 3 of one class in the HQ, so this can reliably be a 6 attack uncommon, which is great for an uncommon. And look at all the range you see so far, especially if you've taken Kimoyo beads already, if you're not playing with Storm in this in the game that you're playing. And it triggers off Kimoyo beads, which is great. This here, by the way, her hero sets are the same colors as Iron Man's, attack and ranged, so I look forward to trying them together and seeing how that works. But yeah, reliably 6 attack, you get to maybe trigger an ambush. This is a great card. And here is her rare Become the Next Black Panther. Instinct, 3 recruit, 3+ attack, and a cost of 7. Heroes of Wakanda. This turn, each card entering the HQ also has Ambush. If you have any cards that share a color with this, you get +2 attack. So thinking about all the ways that heroes can enter the HQ, like with Storm's rare or Shuri's uncommon or other effects within this game, that can be a nice little build-up ramp of attack. So let's say you play Storm's rare and then you put 3 cards into the HQ, and they all share a color with cards you have. You get +6 attack, so it's 9 attack. A little bit lower than I would have expected, but that is because there are ways you can manipulate this to get more attack on her card. So far, I think Storm is the strongest card here, but she does have 3 recruit on her rare, which lets you maybe get a recruit, bring something into the HQ, and then maybe get +2 attack. So she is designed to be self-contained in letting you at least get a shot at getting 5 attack on this card. I told you there's a lot of range here, but there's more of the attack, some more instinct, but we're going to get more into the instinct and strength here with General Okoye. So you'll notice in Okoye's hero set that she has very little direct recruit. In fact, she has no recruit symbols on any of her cards, and she has a bit of a wound engine, and you'll see how that works. So her first common is To My Last Breath. It is an instinct card, 2+ attack and a cost of 3. Instinct ambush, draw a card. Instinct, you may draw a card and get +1 attack. If you do, gain a wound. And I pretty much almost always did this because of the way her wound engine works, and I'll show that a little bit later. But her ambush, this is one of the best ambushes to show up because there's a lot of instinct here. She shows up. If you have an instinct, you draw a card, and this happens multiple times. You can keep your turn going after, you think you finish your turn. As I was saying at the beginning, this feels like an oh wait, there's more effect in the game, where you thought your turn's over, but you get to keep it going, and that feels really satisfying to do. And that's my favorite thing about this set, is how your turn keeps going, and you can keep doing just a little bit more almost every time. So again, and on her triggered effect, it activates on itself. You may draw a card, get +1 attack. Might give you that 1 attack, plus you get to draw another card there. The wound is not a huge deal, and I'll show you why. Her second uncommon is Lead the Dora Milaje. It is a Strength Instinct multi-class card, 2+ attack and a cost of 4. You may gain a Shield Officer, and then Strength. Instead, you may KO a Shield Officer or wound from your hand or discard pile to get +2 attack. So this is a good one to play after her other common. If you are able to trigger the wound, you can immediately KO it, but the tricky part is you need to have played a Strength, and the other common does not give you a Strength. There's not a ton of Strength. Look at all the Strength cards we have so far. We've got 2 Black Panther cards. It's the uncommon and rare, and then this one, which is the first common we've seen in the set with Strength. So I wasn't able to activate this as much as I wanted to with using a hero deck of all 5 of these, but there's situations where that can work, and if you take multiples of these, it is a common, and the wound engine starts working, it's great. So let's say you've played one of these first, 2 attack, and you gain a Shield Officer if you want to, and then you play the other common, you get 2 more attack, 3, and you activate the effect from, because the common does activate from Lead the Dora Milaje, and that's a total of 2 attack, 4 attack, +1 is 5, and then you can play your second Lead the Dora Milaje for 6, 7, KO the wound you just got, and that's 9 attack off of 3 cards, which is pretty impressive for 3 commons. So it does work. You have to build towards it like you do in a lot of hero sets, but it works, and it does feel pretty great. But we're not done there. She does have a couple more cards to look at. The uncommons in this set are not disappointing, and this is no exception. Sovereign Bodyguard is her uncommon. It is a strength card, another one, 3 attack and a cost of 5. Once per turn, when a player gains a wound, you may reveal this card to return that wound to the wound stack, draw a card, and wound a villain. So keep in mind, you may reveal this card, so you don't have to discard it or get rid of it or anything, and it's once per turn. That means you can do it on another player's turn too. So it's a strength. It can activate the Dora Milaje card there, but also can help wound some villains. And you draw a card. It's only 3 attack, but the utility of this is fantastic. Think about it. You cancel a wound, you draw a card, and you get to weaken a villain a little bit, which really helps set up the cooperative element of this game. Usually if you're playing this, well, actually, it depends. You may be able to use this on your own. You may have to wait till another player goes, but it's great. It provides a strength that this set needs. But one thing you can also do is you can cancel the To My Last Breath wound in order to wound a villain, draw a card, and return the wound to the wound stack. So those two will work off each other, but you will have had to play an instinct before. My strategy with Okoye was to do this over multiple turns. I usually played To My Last Breath, gained a wound, even if I couldn't KO it that turn, because I knew later I could could maybe get the Sovereign Bodyguard and lead the Dora Milaje combo to KO the wound that was in my hand at that point or still in my discard pile. So don't be afraid to just get wounds and hold on to them with My Last Breath, because it will work out if you get more of her cards. Also, these last two cards are very effective in fighting against Klaw, who gives you a lot of wounds, or any other enemies that give you wounds, because you have some options on what to do with the wounds. The only thing you don't have to worry about if you have them is having those wounds stuck in your deck, because they can cancel or get rid of them, and you get some great benefits out of that. Some interesting patterns so far. All of the second commons are a 4 cost, and then all of the uncommons have an attack of 3 or 3+ here. And finally, General Okoye is rare with, I think, one of the most interesting pieces of art because of the characters on it. Direct the Agents of Wakanda. First off, we do have the Agents of Wakanda here with Okoye in the middle, followed by Khazar and Zabu on the left, Wasp, and then Kenneth Hale, Gorilla Man. Really need to see these characters, especially Khazar and Gorilla Man, who we haven't seen on legendary cards yet. This is a covert card, 4+ attack, and a cost of 7. Heroes of Wakanda, you may KO a shield hero or wound from your hand or discard pile to get +2 attack. So, by the way, this set is not lacking in KO power. This is a great example of that. And more opportunities to KO your wounds, or you can actually KO your shield heroes. So if you have this rare and not a lot of wounds, you are more than likely to use Lead the Dora Milaje to get some shield officers, because Direct the Agents of Wakanda can KO them if you have gotten rid of your 0 cost. But again, this is great for deck thinning, so I think this is one of my favorite rares to pick up, not just because I like to look at the art, but I really love thinning a deck, and this card does it really well. But again, it's only 1 KO for the card. This pairs really nicely with Heart-Shaped Herb that can not only trigger Heart-Shaped Herb, but it can also help with combining some KOs on a single turn. The one downside is this rare has a maximum attack of 6, but it also has some utility with the KO, so it totally works out. But I did find that Okoye's hero set fits into any of these pretty well. Every single one of them has an instinct, even though Shuri's is a rare. The tricky part is her other common KOing wounds with the strength trigger, but it still is possible, and then her uncommon is pretty universal. I would recommend that if you see a couple, let each player take one so you have the opportunity to cancel some wounds. But a very solid hero set here as well, and we only have one more to look at now. Again, one more thing to notice is that none of Okoye's cards have Recruit on them. The only way you can get Recruit with her is to get yourself a shield officer, which she gives you for free when you play her second common. So I would advise to do that more often than not, because again, if you get the rare, you can KO them. There is one more hero in this expansion, the one that was not revealed until the unboxing, and that is White Wolf, and he has a very interesting strategy for wounding villains and masterminds. And here's White Wolf, the adopted brother of T'Challa, with his common Secret Assignment. It is a covert card, 2+ recruit, and a cost of 3. Covert, ambush, wound the mastermind. Covert, if any villain or mastermind has any wounds, you get +2 recruit. So this card has a better ambush effect, in my opinion, than an actual card effect, because when he shows up, you have a covert and you get to wound the mastermind. It feels very satisfying. Again, putting a wound on the mastermind, making it easier to hit that mastermind a little later. I found that the secondary effect to get +2 recruit, it does give you 4 recruit, but if you're not fighting against Killmonger or using his always leads group, it's not that often you're going to have any villains or masterminds with wounds unless you're really focusing on using White Wolf's cards. So I found that a little lackluster, but the ambush effect is awesome. And 4 recruit is really good, so if you can get it, great, especially early game, but early game they're less likely to have the wounds is the point. Now, Cloaking Tech Ambush is a different story. I love this card. It is a tech card, 2 attack and a cost of 4. Tech, ambush, wound a villain. Tech, wound a villain. The White Wolf takes on missions too extreme for official Wakandan approval. So the ambush is fun when that happens, you get to wound a villain. But then when it's in your deck, especially combined with attack cards like from Black Panther or Shuri, wounding villains is very useful. There are some villains, you know, when you play Legendary that just move through the city because you just are short 1-2 attack to hit them, and it takes a while. So having a hero that can reliably wound villains and slowly whittle them down as they move through the city, giving you a better chance to take them out, especially combined with something like Storm's Uncommon where you can give more wounds to them, really helps with those Celestials you can't quite get the cosmic threat towards, helps with a ton of enemies. It even helps with henchmen because you can turn them down to 2 attack, and sometimes you have 2 leftover attack, and now you have something to do with that. White Wolf can take out a henchman on his own. If he has that tech trigger, 2 attack plus the wound can take out a henchman. He has a very technical hero set with the way that he wounds villains, but it does work, and if you focus on him, you can really take advantage of that. And even more so than Heart-Shaped Herb, I think this is the best card in this set for KOing things. It is Command the Hattusaraze. It is a multi-class card, covert and tech, 3 attack and a cost of 5. It has a Heroes of Wakanda ambush. You may KO one of your cards, and then Heroes of Wakanda. If any villain or Mastermind has any wounds, you may KO a card from your hand or discard pile. So again, it's an uncommon, so this can only pop up in the HQ 3 times unless it gets tucked and comes back up again somehow. But a surprise KO one of your cards is very welcome at the end of your turn before you have to shuffle them back into your discard pile or put them into your discard pile. You can get rid of that one card you really wanted to get rid of. But his other card effect almost always works, especially if you're fighting Killmonger or his group. But if White Wolf has to activate 1 wound of a villain, and that's any villain or Mastermind has any wounds. So it's almost useful to use White Wolf, keep a wound on a villain and not take it out just yet, so that you can get Command the Hattusaraze to come back up and KO some more cards. So you got to really think about when you want to take out those villains. Again, a villain can be down to 0 attack by wounding it, and you do not have to fight it yet. And I'll talk about that more when I talk about a specific scheme. But that helps with White Wolf too. If you want to leave a wound on a villain, if you're afraid that you're not going to get it before Command the Hattusaraze comes out, you can leave it on there. Really helps you thin down your deck. And I love a nice covert tech dual class. Those are very useful for triggering a lot of card draws and a lot of KOs. And finally, White Wolf's rare, where he's in appropriately a very similar pose to T'Challa here, Reflective Vibranium Armor. It is a tech card, 4 attack and a cost of 7. Tech, ambush, wound each villain and the Mastermind. If a Master Strike would occur, you may reveal this card to KO that strike and wound the Mastermind instead. So again, it's an ambush on a rare, which means it'll happen probably just once, if at all. But this one did trigger for me, and it was so satisfying. When he just shows up, I have a tech in my hand, and if you're building a tech deck, you have a lot of tech, it'll probably work. And wound each villain, that's wound every villain in the city and the Mastermind. So everybody gets a -1 for the rest of the game, at least until you hit the Mastermind and get rid of the villain. That is very, very good, because just that one attack can really change the game around, especially if you're on the ropes and you're about to lose. That can give you the edge you need. And then a KO a Master Strike card that not a lot of heroes in Legendary get to do, only a few do. So he joins the very exclusive club in Legendary of cards that can KO Master Strike. So along with Psylord, with Speedball, and Happy Hogan of all people. This is the 4th one, I believe. And again, you can wound the Mastermind instead of the Strike. So you completely change his plans. It's kind of fun with the Klaw tactic that escapes and becomes a Master Strike, because you can plan for that. If that Klaw tactic's in the bridge and you know Reflective Vibranium Armor is coming up in the next hand, you can ask the other player to let Klaw escape, so you can cancel that, KO the tactic, and wound the Mastermind. So that's a fun little scenario you can do, but I do like this rare a lot. It's not great on its own for attack, but having this out and the ability to cancel Master Strikes, especially earlier in the game, is great. You do have a lot of cards that can give you Recruit. Okoye can give you Shield Officers. Kimoyo Beast can give you a ton of Recruit. So if you can pick this up early and you're set and prepared, thin your deck, be ready with White Wolf in every turn or every other turn, and let the Mastermind's plans just go to rubble. It's wonderful. And that is it for all the enemies and heroes in this set. Doesn't this set just look beautiful? Look at all the colors and cards and patterns. I love it. This is a wonderful expansion. We're not done yet, though. There are 4 schemes to look at. We're going to go over them, and I'll tell you my experiences playing each one and what you might be in store for. Scheme number 1, and the one you could say is Killmonger's signature scheme, is Seize the Wakandan Throne. Set up 6 twists. Twist: if the Mastermind has the throne's favor, they spend it to stack this twist next to the scheme as a Tribe of Wakanda defeated. Otherwise, the Mastermind gains the throne's favor, shuffle this twist back into the villain deck, and then play a card from the villain deck. Special rules: whenever you fight the Mastermind, you gain the throne's favor. Evil wins when the 5 tribes of Wakanda have been defeated. So this scheme can be tough. If you have bad luck, you can just easily lose to this thing. Let's say you're starting the game, the twist happens, the Mastermind gets the throne's favor, you shuffle the twist back in, and you play another card from the villain deck, and if that card is a scheme twist, you automatically fail because the Mastermind has the throne's favor, and you have a Tribe of Wakanda defeated. If that happens too many times, you just lose, which is tricky. So you don't want to give him any chances to have the throne's favor and just pull a twist and get it. Luckily, you can fight the Mastermind to get the throne's favor, and there's also other cards in this set that have it. I can imagine this being a tougher scheme if none of your hero cards have throne's favor, because you do have to hit the Mastermind, and depending on who the Mastermind is, there are a lot that are really tough to hit until all at the end of the game. I'm thinking of ones like even J. Jonah Jameson, who's protected for a while, or somebody like Thanos, where you got to collect the Affinity Gems. If he's got the Throne's Favor and you have no way to get it, this can be over very quick. So I want to say the strategy is to focus on hitting the Mastermind, but that should be your strategy anyway, right? Now, one thing that you can do with somebody like Killmonger is if you wound him down to 0 and he doesn't have the Throne's Favor, you might want to leave him at 0. So that way, if he gains the Throne's Favor, he's real easy to hit and get it back. So that would be my strategy for using this scheme with Killmonger. There may be similar strategies with different Masterminds, choosing not to hit him at a specific time, but not a lot of them work like Killmonger. And it's kind of funny when you play this without any heroes with Throne's Favor, because you're just keeping the throne away. It's keep away, and you have nothing to do with it. But that's the name of the game here. And here's what I consider Klaw's signature scheme: plunder Wakanda's Vibranium. Set up 10 twists representing Vibranium. Twist: put any Vibranium from the city into the escape pile. A bystander enters the city as a 3-attack smuggler villain with fight. Rescue this as a bystander. Then the highest attack villain captures this twist. Put the top card of the hero deck next to the scheme as a Vibranium attunement, putting any previous attunement on the bottom of the hero deck. Special rules: a villain holding Vibranium is empowered by the colors of the Vibranium attunement. When you defeat them, put the Vibranium in your victory pile worth 3 VP. Evil wins when 4 Vibranium are in the escape pile or the villain deck runs out. This is a tough one, especially to play with Klaw. I didn't do so well against Klaw plundering Wakanda's Vibranium because he gets empowered and then the villains also get empowered. It is nice that you do put the previous attunement on the bottom of the hero deck when a new one comes out, but that can change the unpredictability factor because you don't know how much tougher they're going to be to fight. Also, the line there, then the highest attack villain captures this twist, that is the toughest part because you have a lot of villains in here that are pretty high attack. Let's say that Venomm, even if he's down to 7 or something, or even Zenzi here with 5 attack. Let's say Zenzi gets it, right? It's tough to play with his villain, with Klaw's villain group, because if Zenzi gets it, that's 5 attack, plus 3 captures the twist, is already empowered by instinct and is empowered by any color on there. So giving the highest attack villain even more attack is really, really difficult. So you want to make sure that with this scheme, you go for the high attack villains first, maybe even more so than the Mastermind, so the Vibranium gets stuck with a smuggler villain or a henchman or something, because if you let a high attack villain get it, they're probably going to escape. It's going to be really hard to get those out of there, and only 4 Vibranium need to escape for you to lose. So focus on the high attack villains over the Mastermind, or you're probably going to lose at that point. But I love the theming of carrying Vibranium through. I'd love to maybe get a Vibranium token or something like that, but it's pretty fun. Next, we have Poison Lace with Nanite Microbots. Set up twists equal to 5 plus the number of players, 30 wounds in the wound stack. Twist: stack this twist next to the scheme as an infected nanite. Wound the Mastermind. Then, for each infected nanite, wound a hero in the HQ, dividing these new wounds as evenly as possible. Special rules: whenever you recruit a hero or it leaves the HQ, pay 1 recruit less for each wound on it and choose players to gain those wounds, dividing them as evenly as possible. Whenever a wound is KO'd from anywhere, return it to the bottom of the wound stack. Evil wins when the wound stack or villain deck runs out. So first, let me say that last line of the special rules is very important, and I'm very glad it's there. Whenever a wound is KO'd from anywhere, return it to the bottom of the wound stack. So that makes it a little more forgiving than some of these schemes like the Legacy Virus from the core set, because once that wound stack is out, it is out. You can't put any back in there. But at least if you heal wounds here or do something else, there is a chance to KO them, put them back into the stack. This scheme ramps up. So it starts as not a huge deal because you have 1 nanite, 2 nanites, 3. You're putting them in the HQ. Hey, great, it's making my heroes in the HQ cheaper. I can get some more expensive cards for cheap. I'll pick up the wounds, whatever. I've got Okoye, I can get rid of those. But if you let the game go on too long, then you start getting 4, 5, 6, 7 wounds at a time. So chances are you're not going to lose because the wound stack's going to run out, but notice it does say the villain deck runs out, and I'm pretty sure that's because if you start absorbing all those wounds, picking up the cheap cards, you're going to have hands after hands that do nothing except rest wounds away, and then by that time it would be a draw, but if the villain deck runs out with this, it's going to be an evil wins. So strategies for this one, get Okoye if you have this set and are using her. Get rid of those wounds early and often. You can't stack up too many wounds on the same hero, but you do have the opportunity to do that a little bit. And don't be afraid to pick up some uncommons or rares if you've weakened them early, because yes, you'll get the wounds, but you'll have some rares to work with. And so try to put those wounds on more expensive cards, giving you the chance to get them, hopefully before there's too many infected nanites out there. And finally, a very fun scheme, Provoke a Clash of Nations. This is the rock, paper, scissors scheme, I'll tell you why. Set up 11 twists, twist 1 to 8. Without talking, all players simultaneously vote with a fist, palm, or 2 fingers. A fist, palm, 2 fingers. Look familiar? Break ties at random. Then only you discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You must do the voted task below by the end of this turn, or stack this twist next to the Mastermind as an international crisis. So, fist, war, defeat a non-henchman villain or a Mastermind tactic. Palm, diplomacy, play 3 heroes that share a hero class, and 2 fingers, commerce, recruit 2 heroes from the HQ. Twist 9 to 11, do all 3 tasks this turn, or add an international crisis. Evil wins at 6 international crises. So when I played this game, I had an unfortunate combo. I had Achebe about to escape, Baron Macabre entered, and he threw in 2 more villains, causing Achebe to escape, causing an extra scheme twist. So when I got to twist 9, I thought it was a twist 8, and then I realized, oh no, I have to do all 3, and I failed. But this is a fun one, especially if you play with a lot of friends. You can talk about it. This will be a fun one to do on stream too, because I can let chat give me rock, paper, or scissors, or war, diplomacy, commerce. So here's my tips on when, if you're playing this game, when to throw down fist, palm, or 2 fingers. Obviously, if you have a villain out in the city or a Mastermind that's weakened, you want to go with war. Good strategy for this, again, like I mentioned before, is if you are fighting Killmonger or using his villain group, weaken a villain or a Mastermind down to 0 and leave them there. That way, when a twist comes up, you can all go war, and you can easily pass it by taking out that villain that costs 0 to fight. That is a very good strategy. I highly recommend doing that. Palm is a tricky one to plan for, so I'd avoid this one most of the time unless you're confident that somebody else has a deck that has at least 3 cards of the same hero class. And then commerce is a little bit easier, because even if you only have 1 card that costs 2, you may not have that much recruit. The ambush effects are your friend here, because you can get a bystander to get you extra recruit from Unseen Protector. Okoye may let you draw another card. So the ambushes are your friend there. So first and foremost, I'd go for war, especially if you left the 0 cost in the city. I'd go for commerce, maybe early mid-game if you have recruit but not a lot else. And then diplomacy, if you're late game and you know what everybody has, you could probably go for that. Twist 9 to 11 are really tough, so just try not to even get there. But this is a very fun scheme, and I can see this being really fun with a multiplayer game for sure. And that is Marvel Legendary Black Panther. I think this is going to be one of my favorite expansions in a while. If I described this expansion in one word, it would be smooth, just with the way that everything works well together. Everything feels so intuitive. All the heroes work really well. The multi-class cards are easy to trigger because obviously they have multiple classes to do so. The different mechanics on there, Black Panther with his rapid fire, Storm at the city spaces, Shuri with the card draws and the extra recruit and the empowerment, Okoye with the wound engine, and then White Wolf with the wounding villains. They all have their own niche, but they work really well together. The enemies are wonderful. They feel really new, but also using familiar mechanics. There are no new keywords in this set. If you take ambush, which is kind of a new play on ambush with heroes, but technically the word ambush was already there, so it's friendly to new players with all the mechanics in here. The wound mechanic is new, but uses cards we already had, and it feels so natural. It feels so easy to pull off, like we've been able to do it for a long time, and you'll feel that way when you get your hands on this too. The new ambush is wonderful. There's nothing more satisfying than feeling like your turn is over and then refreshing the HQ, and there's an ambush and you get to do a little more. That is such a satisfying feeling that is also very simple. The game does it on its own. It just shows you a new card in the HQ and then you get to do something, but it's so rewarding. I love that. The Throne's Favor is used, I think, in better effect here than Realm of Kings. Realm of Kings puts a big emphasis on Throne's Favor, and here the Masterminds don't have it. The heroes have it, some heroes have it, and one of the schemes in the scheme, like I said, it's just a game of keep away most of the time. And then with the heroes, usually you're going to gain it and immediately spend it because those effects are so good and simple, and the multiple cards will do that. But yeah, not a lot of holding on to it, wondering what you're going to do, like in Realm of Kings. So more friendly environment for Throne's Favor too. And yes, the art looks wonderful. Look at all the colors out here. I love the way the dual class cards look with the one color on top, the other on the bottom, and the art. This one has multiple different artists doing the art on there. I like the different styles. I think it looks great, and these rares are so much fun to look at. Really inventive schemes. I think Provoke a Clash of of Nations is going to be a favorite of people at their game night to do the rock, paper, scissors motions and see what goal they have to accomplish, see how well they can work together. This brings some more competitive aspects with the wounding of villains and wounding of masterminds. Who's going to get that VP? Are you going to work together to maybe stall on that to work for the scheme, or are you just going to be greedy and take that VP for yourself right away? Empowering, I always like that in Ant-Man. It's a simple mechanic because you just look at what's already there. You have to do a little bit of math, but I think it's worth it, and Klaw takes that to an extreme, especially with this quadruple empowered on the back. I think the toughest challenge in this set is going to be Klaw's Epic, but it's there for you if you want it. Overall, a fantastic expansion. I think it's got to be my favorite of the ones that released this year so far, which is exciting because it's new and I get to play some more, so I can't wait to do that. It does release today, so check your friendly local game store, or you can check the Upper Deck website to order it. I've posted a link to that in the description for you if you'd like. And thank you for watching this overview of Marvel Legendary Black Panther. Thank you so much to Upper Deck again for sending me a copy of this game so I could review it for you guys. Thank you to everybody who is a Bagel Top Games coffee supporter. I'll post your names at the end of this. I really appreciate your help. If you'd like to be a coffee supporter, get early access to gameplay videos, get priority on me picking your viewer challenges, etc., I really appreciate that. Coffee doesn't take a cut of anything, so all your support goes right to me to help me do more things like these overview videos, news videos, more live streams, more tournaments, and the randomizer league, and the keyword bot, and the campaign, and everything else that we do in the Discord and elsewhere. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate a subscribe and a like to make sure that people see this video. I'll be bringing you updates on Black Widow and the Infinity Saga after that, so stay tuned for those updates. Make sure you are subscribed to get alerts on that. Make sure you join the Discord for alerts, and here's more of the box I didn't get to show you. It's really neat. I love it. All right. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time, hopefully with some Black Widow news. Enjoy Black Panther. It is so good. I think you'll have a great time. Thanks again, Upper Deck. Take care, everybody.